Hey, look, there's an X in the sky. Let me see if you see it. It's just beyond that tree. It's a plane in the air. My name is Dr. Cheryl Meyer, and I am a teacher of intuition and a student of intuition. And I'm a psychologist in my day job, and I just take time out of my week to teach because I want other people to be free. I want you to be free. I know the pain that I've experienced in my life. All right, they're cutting the yard over there, so I'm going to go this way. And so I know the pain that other people must be suffering through. And I've looked all my life for solutions, and so as I've found them, I always want to have an open hand and give them away. That's just how I am. I don't like seeing people suffer, and so I'll do whatever I can to help you get out of your suffering. Oh, look, my keys went across, and I have this quote on it from Kenny Rogers, no less. It says, "Don't be afraid to give up the good for the great." So that's kind of what we're talking about today. Is I was reading last night. I read for an hour out of the book The New Man, and it's an esoteric book. That just means something that was hidden, that's meant to be revealed, but you don't get it revealed to you unless you enter into it. And we talked about that last video that I made on entering into the kingdom of heaven. Is like you must be like a child. That's like entering into Paris. You don't get to experience Paris unless you enter into it, and the way to enter into it is like a child. But let's talk about giving up the good for the great. Hold on. First, take a second to be present. I'll show you the tree. You are a soul in a body. You are God consciousness in a body. And the more you experience yourself as that, the more you experience this peace that passes your understanding, that Christ said he came to give us. Don't be afraid to give up the good for the great. What happens is, what's been being shown to me recently is, our intuition will show us something, and then we'll go grab for that and try to figure out, how can I get that myself? I've seen the vision of that. Now how can I go get that for myself? This is what I think I want. And I was joking, it's kind of like that Carrie Underwood song. It's like, it goes like, Jesus, take the wheel. And then it's like, okay, I see where you're going. Let me take it back. It makes me laugh. It helps me just laugh about how ridiculous my actions are, my own actions. I look at my own actions to teach other people. When I yield and surrender everything up to something greater than me. Like the first step in AA is I came to believe, in my actions, that a power greater than me could restore me to sanity. People misunderstand that. you can. But if you think of what Einstein said, is he said you can't solve a problem with the same energy that created it. He had an understanding of mathematics and the laws of the universe. And so you can't solve your problems. You can try. I've tried, believe me, by grabbing onto things and solving them in your own way and trying to control them. Or you can surrender, purposefully surrender. It's a German word, Gelassenheit, which is like purposefully surrendering into serenity, into something higher. I laughed so much yesterday. I was on a Zoom call and there was a person on, and I'm not saying any of her personal information, but she said they don't call it ego death for nothing, and I started laughing because it was it's really, really painful at times, and it feels like a death, like you're facing and witnessing your own death. I do it all the time. It's like when Christ says, take up your cross every day, and there was a cross in the sky, the X. I've talked a lot about the X and the O. If you look at this, like the X and the O is take up your cross every day, let your egotism die so you can come back into the oneness, because the egotism is what we have here in duality. It's like the world and the flesh and the devil is how the church calls it. If you want to understand it as the collective consciousness of the world that's obsessed with controlling everything and manipulating everything and getting their own ego ends, then we're influenced by that. It's just a fact of life. We're influenced by that. That was 7:07 when that just happened. And so, into this video, we're pulled that way, and look at how who are you? I'm just going to interrupt for a second and say, who are you? Who are you? I love how John Butler says the sun is like, grace is like spiritual sunshine. That's what you're asking to come in, is this grace that pulls you up to a higher capacity, a higher love. And by dying to your egotism, to this part of you that always feels lack, always feels empty, is never enough, always is aiming for superiority, puts down other people, belittles their ideas or is jealous of them, is always striving for perfection and never feels like enough. That's the world. That's our egotism. That's our flesh. When we forget that we are a soul, we are connected to God, we are consciousness, and we get unplugged from that understanding, although it's always a reality. We identify with our physical body and we experience all of that lack and all of that wanting and all of that emptiness and all of that climbing over other people. I talked about that in the last 2 videos, to the extent that you are addicted to your own desires, is the extent that you'll step over someone else to take those instead of you being the master. I was getting this message the other day of when God created heaven and earth, whether you believe that or not, don't worry about it. he said to Adam, have dominion over the earth. Well, Adam, the word Adam is like red earth. He was pulled out of the earth. If you understand the story to some capacity, it's like you're made out of earth. You're meant to be master of this. You're meant to be master of this. You're not meant to, I have all these stars on today. You're not meant to be dominated by your passions, by your desires. You know, and one other thing I wanted to add to this, and so you can ask, you can ask for higher wisdom and higher understanding. And then the more that you learn how to love, the more you love other people and create beauty in this world. And you don't pollute the relationships you're in. You're not in them to try to get your own end. You have a different end, and that's love. You truly have a different end. And so someone said the other day, everyone asks, well, what would Jesus do or whatever? And he said, well, what would Beethoven do? This guy named Dallas Willard, and someone else was quoting him. And they were saying, like, look at all the practice that it took for Beethoven to play well. This is your life. Don't be surprised that it takes discipline and practice to yield these things up and face your fears. I feel like I'm facing death, like literally, to face these and surrender them up to the divine. So what looks like good in our hands, we'd rather go for that and grab that sometimes, because it seems like I'm going to be more secure. I have this high in my hand. I have this temporary feeling in my hand. But don't be afraid to give up this good, what you look as good, for the great, for something even higher than that. If you don't learn the discipline of that and practice that all the time, then you just keep getting weaker and weaker and give in to your lower nature, and it just creates misery. But you get to see that yourself. I wish you so much love. I only had these few minutes, and I wanted to take some time out to bring this to you. I wish you much love. Oh, and I forgot to say, because I'm trying to make a practice of saying that I have a class on life transformation that takes a whole year. You can do 3 months of it and get the pattern of it. And it's on my website, drcherylmeyer.com/begin. If you want to go there, just go to Dr. Cheryl Meyer, CHERYLMEIER. And you can do that. Because in that, I'm teaching you how to awaken your intuition, how to listen to that, how to get out of the suffering that you've been in, not by quick fixes, temporary fixes that leave you empty, but by love, by learning how to love on a higher level. All right, much love.